I'm live. Not alive, but live. Holy mother. How many days is this? 4 days now? 4 days. Am I fit yet? Am I done? Can I stop now? Have I reached the end? Am I at peak fitness? Oh, man. Friday. I figure I had Friday energy, so I should try to get in there. Do myself some damage while I still can. How is everyone? Wolf Pop! How the heck are you, buddy? It's been ages. Way too long. That says Saz. I guess I need my glasses. Wolf Pop, I hope you're well. I hope you're doing well and that school is treating you well and you're still a science genius. Charmy Sosi says, hello, David. Made it to Friday. I did. I made it to Friday. I did. Casualty Sandra. I made it. I'm alive still. Ben Palmer, hello to you. Layer Cake, good evening. Rachel Wright, hello, Rachel Wright. Tina, nice shirt today. Yeah, it's the Texas Center for Advanced Computing. Amazing stuff. Afternoon, Blurty Dad, David Sams, Tina. Wolf Pupping, doing good, sick. How are you doing? Oh, no. Not major sick, I hope. Hopefully just minor sick. Good evening, David, says Mandy. 4 days. Yeah, man, it feels like 4 months, honestly. I wish it looked like 4 months, but it feels like 4 years, actually. This is just it's not fun. I mean, I don't know. Was it Mandy yesterday saying that eventually it becomes like you miss it? I feel like I'm sort of missing it in a self-torture way right now. Like if I was not going to do it today because the kid was out back playing basketball, and man, that is loud when it hits that garage door. I really regret putting up the basketball net. I love that he's using it. That's great. He hasn't used it a lot. It's usually neighborhood kids using it, and I just don't have the heart to take it down, even though it's a little noisy when I'm in here. But thank you, Mandy. Yep, 4 days. I've done it. Rebel Time Lead says, good afternoon, David. At the side of the road in my sister's car while she puts oil in. Uh-oh. Did she forget to do that? You know, the first car I owned, well, the first real grown-up car that I owned, I sold I had a motorcycle accident, and then I was like, okay, this is crazy. I'm not going to make it on this thing. So I went and bought a Toyota Tercel. I loved that car. It had a little moonroof, and I could open it up, and I had a what I thought was a kick-ass stereo, and I drove that thing until it stopped working. It stopped working because I didn't know you had to put oil in it. So I was driving to work up in Aurora one day, and it started making the noise. I thought I'd hit a bird. Like I literally thought there was a bird at the front of my car flapping against the forward pressure, and so I kept driving because that's what I did. Got off the highway, went to the first mechanic I could find, and they laughed. Oh my God, they laughed so hard when I said no, it had oil when I got it, because I'd driven it for like 2 years without oil. But basically that thing was indestructible. I destroyed it, and then they replaced it with a new engine. And it was like so cheap I couldn't get it. I was like, Jesus, what does this thing run on? Like a sewing machine? They're like, yeah, basically. David, Mark Timothy Moses says hello. I'm going to say hi right back. Annie Noam says hi from Norway. Norway, yes. Cassiope25 says, or Cassiope, I guess. 25, hi to you. Hello from the UK. So glad you're doing these again. I know. I do feel better. Loved you in Scanners to the New Order. Oh boy, Mark, that is a lot of hair ago. That is some tight jeans and a mullet ago. Man, I remember having a horrible time shooting it because it was insane the amount we were shooting in such small amounts of time. But man, did I enjoy the special effects side of that. All the makeup effects, and I had these big things on my face that would make my face bubble up, and we blew people up and stuff. Oh, it was so amazing. All right, that does it. If David can do 4 days in a row, so can I, starting Monday. Andy, you're up starting Monday. Why not start today, Andy, and then you're a day ahead? Oh, man. Am I going to turn into one of those, I'm going to turn into like Richard Simmons. Come on, one more, two more. Oh, God, I can't even do that. Everything hurts. Barely learned about this yesterday, and I share your distaste for all vegetables. Happy Friday. Casualty Sandra. We're looking at eating healthy, which to Jane means that she wants a steak. So we're going to do steak, I think, and veggies tonight. Although I think I'm going to sneak some potatoes on there because, frankly, you know what? Screw the food right now. I'm going to enjoy myself in the food department because I am doing myself some exercise. I'm doing myself some damage already. I'm going to worry about eating properly later. The weird thing about exercise is you do feel like eating better, if that makes sense, or less. I really do think it actually mitigates some of my some of my hunger. Like I feel like when I'm exercising, I feel less hungry. So I don't know. It could just be, whether it's causality or actually effect. I don't know. But you barely learned about them yesterday. Well, you've learned now. That's the learn part of the Burn and Learn. Howdy, says Wendy Olson, and of course Gimpy G. How are you? And and a huge hello to Wolf Pup from Gimpy G. Wolf Pup is one of our OG Tech Bandits and has never missed a Tech Bandits, even though we don't really do a lot of Tech Bandits anymore. But he will always be our #1 Tech Bandit in our hearts. Max Porter, hello to you. Super impressed by your Burn and Learn dedication. Thank you, Jessica. It's been 4 days. That's it. So maybe don't get your hopes up too high. I already, I could, I just hope it doesn't, I just hope it doesn't slip, because I just don't want it to fall apart, I kind of like a little bit of exercise. That's my Canadian accent. Good to see you again. Thank you, Brave Dove. Proud of you. You're better than me for sure. Tina, it's an easy solution. Just hop on, do a little exercise. You know what? The weird thing with this is I wasn't doing it. And please don't, I'm not an example in this. It was very funny. A friend of mine actually was running a weight loss website and asked if I could be involved because I'd, at the time, lost some weight. And I was like, I'm really not your person. Like, I'm the worst example because I go up and down and I try fad diets and I do stupid exercise that I hurt myself with. And I'm just the worst example for this stuff. But all I will say is this. I started doing some push-ups. Some push-ups. They were like piss-ups because they were like more pathetic push-ups, push-ups, and then some sit-up type stuff just to do something in the morning because I could feel the big gut, and especially because of all my apple cider drinks, all of my cider drinks in England and Prague and stuff. God, I love cider. Anyways, so I thought I would just do some push-ups and sit-ups, and that led back to the elliptical because very quickly I go like, oh, come on, if I can do that, I can do 20 minutes on the machine or whatever. So today, Burn and Learn. Let me give you the little deal, the whole deal, nothing but the deal. I did 24 and a half minutes. Big deal. I did half an hour. I did half a minute more. But you know what? I'm crawling myself back up to where I was. I don't even remember where I was at. Someone will have to look at the old videos and see where I was at. But what's nice about this is there's really no excuse not to do a half an hour or under exercise. So I don't have any excuse for that. It's not like, oh my God, I need an hour to do this. Although now I think about it, I do need an hour to do this because I talk for at least half an hour as well. Well, this is the fun part. This is the part I earn. This is like earning calories. I earn social media calories by doing my Burn and Learn. So 24 minutes, roughly the same as before. This time I did a little longer on my reverse resistance because I had done a very long dog walk with the dogs. I figured I've done a lot of walking forward already. So why don't I do a little bit more walking backwards? So I did 14 minutes of backwards and only 10 minutes of 10 and a half minutes of forward. I'm sure this is really boring to you. Sorry, I'm hearing myself drone on, and it's like, oh my God, this is a man whose endorphins are just crushing his brain. And then the learn part, I'm continuing with my great courses on the gene and DNA, and it's just extraordinary. Like, it's just amazing. I mean, how they figured this stuff out and how early they figured it out. I mean, they had found this. I mean, the reason why it's called nucleic acid is because it's the stuff they pulled out of the nucleus. I didn't realize that was the name. I've always been very confused about this. I find the naming conventions in biology extremely overly complicated. But I guess there's a lot of things to name, so you need a lot of names. So nucleic acid is just it was originally called nucleotide or something like that. Where they when they first found it, they just basically sucked out the inside of the nucleus, which is of course where those wonderful little chromosomes live, and then they were talking about how they figured out the makeup of these things. They figured out, I love the fact that they counted all the A's and the C's and the T's and the G's, and they noticed that there was a direct correlation between the number of each of them. So I'm guessing that, again, looking back, you go like, well, of course it's a double helix, but those great detectives, the escape room learners, the escape puzzle learners of before, the scientists who were dealing with this stuff came up with this sort of mathematical correlation between the different, what is that, are they proteins? What are they called? What would they be called? Because there's the sugar and it's the sugar and something else. The backbone. The backbone is something and sugar. And then someone is going to tell me, I'm sure, in a moment. It was, David drinks the cider drinks, and when he gets knocked down, he gets up, nothing gonna keep him down. Is that an attempt at lyrics, Gimpy G? Does anyone know what it is? It's sugar and something else, the backbone of of DNA. And no, guanine is the. Almost got it. Almost got it. Don't I almost have it, Jim? What was it? Well, Jim will know because Jim's the man who knows this stuff. Jim the Evo, everybody. By the way, yes, Gimpy G Gaming and Jim the Evo, two people you should be following for sure. My friends and bigger brains than I will ever be. And also Cal, of course. I've seen Cal on here now too, so everyone should be following Cal as well. So what was it? It was Chumbawamba. Thank you, Wendy. That's not what I'm looking for, but yes, Chumbawamba. Oh, phosphorus. Is that right? Phosphorus? It's phosphorus. It's a phosphorus and sugar backbone, and then it has was adenine, cytosine, and then there's a couple more. I can't remember them all, but ACTG, and basically those will add up. Hi, David Hewlett. I fucking love you. Wow. Shaken Milk 4. I appreciate your fucking love. Deoxyribonucleic acid, right? So, deoxyribose, I would imagine. So, deoxyribose, adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. Very good, thank you. And then there's another one that pairs up in. Is it RNA? That's specific to that. Anyways, the lecture is amazing. It's obviously not sinking in, but at least you're. What's my favorite swear? I think probably Flustercluck. I think Flustercluck is one of my favorite swears. Or, come on! That's my other favorite one. I feel really dumb listening to you all smart people. Well, Tina, I'm with you because I can't remember. That's it, Uracil, that's it. I mean, it just depends. I mean, we all have our areas of specialty. Mine is pretending to be smart. But of course, I'm struggling to try to actually get some smarts at the same time. So that's my lifelong learning quest, is to actually learn some stuff. And I figure instead of reading crappy novels, I should read some or listen to some good science. So just trying to pick this stuff up. Again, I feel like science, like so many things, is is almost like a language that you're just not gonna. Unless you're using it all the time, I don't think you're going to remember a lot of this stuff. Your last Burn&Learn 4 months ago you said 25 minutes. So you outdoing yourself already? What? Seriously? Living Coffee, I am a Doctor Who fan, but I'm a classic Doctor Who fan. I am a John Pertwee and Tom Baker Doctor Who fan. We're all smart. We're all smart in our own way, except for people like Terrence Howard or flat earthers. Oh, really? What's Terrence Howard done? I don't know who Terrence Howard is, actually. My specialty is wisecracks. Nice. That's a good one. It's a good one to have. Bite me, I'm Klingon. Tina, I'm smart in unimportant fandom things like Stargate. I remember Guillermo del Toro said that he is a repository for useless information, which I think is entirely, undermining his amazing skills of everything. But my daughter is the smartest in her class. Her teacher struggles to challenge her in maths. Me, I got an F in maths, LOL. She doesn't get it from me. Yeah, Brave Dove, about the same for me. My son is really quite good at math. He seems to. I don't want to get my hopes up or his, but he seems to really have a knack for the programming stuff. Like when I say that, I mean actually programming stuff using Copilot and ChatGPT and his own stuff. I mean, which I just don't think is cheating. I think that's using a tool that makes sense. I mean, I feel about all these wasted courses that we took when I was a kid at school that people will say, oh, well, it taught you how to learn it. It's just not true. There's a lot of stuff that we were taught to memorize that's just a waste of time. For example, countries in Africa. That's the irony that we memorized all these British freaking names for countries in Africa, which then, of course, declared independence or fought each other or, that map changes every week, So the fact that I remember, I don't think does Mozambique exist anymore? I don't know. I did a project on Mozambique. I remember that. I used to think it was Mozambique. Anyways, all right. What do we got in here? Any thoughts on present-day ZPMs? Have we got an event? I mean, I love the idea of it. I just don't know that do we have any real practical examples of these things yet? I think that the things that really fascinate me right now are obviously what is it? What are these? The little mini nuclear reactors, the little sort of individual ones where you can get one that would power that could power an AI facility or could power a small neighborhood or something. I'm really excited about that technology. Although I think they're going to have a hard time getting past the Well, first off, the oil companies that have made it so difficult for nuclear to exist and proliferate, anyways. But also, I think people are just scared of that stuff. Although I can't imagine how much damage we can imagine how much a nuclear disaster can do because we've seen it occur around the world. But we've also seen catastrophic oil and gas related incidents as well. So it's so funny since I'm American, I should pronounce it. ZPM, yeah. But because of your character, it feels wrong to say not to say ZPM. Good, shaken milk. That's as it should be. There are ways to teach coding that make it really easy, but it's pretty new in K-12 school and universities for the most part. Aren't interested in teaching strategies. Yeah, I mean it's my frustration with his most recent test was that he had to write it by hand, and I don't know about you, but I don't do a lot of programming by hand. I just don't understand how that helps anybody. I mean, you're just ignoring the tools that are available. It's spell check. We've got spell check. We've got grammar check now. We've got translation services. And I'm sorry. Yes, I caused the apocalypse and the apes took over and killed all the power. But the reality is, I think these technologies are going to be around for us to use in the future, and I don't see why kids aren't being taught how to use them well instead of being told to write programs on paper, which just like that smacks of my day of like that's me with the punch cards doing the little like coloring in the little squares in the punch card programming, which put me off programming. I was going home and playing with my Commodore 64, but that wasn't real programming apparently. Typing pages and pages of basic programs into a Commodore 64 didn't count as real computer programming because real computers used punch cards according to my educational system. Anyways, what are you asking me, Tombstone? What is Tombstone asking you? I know you mentioned watching football. Do you and Baz support a particular team? We do, Rachel. Apparently, I'm supposed to be supporting Arsenal, but I like to support any team that I like the look of. So I tend to annoy the family by just basically always going for the underdog, basically. But yes, Arsenal is definitely the team. There is no research that says that writing programs on paper is useful. There's research showing that doing planning and design activities by hand is really useful. Yeah, I think there's definitely something about the process of actually writing down. I mean, that has been proven that things stick in your brain better when you write them down. The process, that physical process of writing stuff down. I'm all for that kind of approach. But yeah, I feel like, again, we're focusing too much on how to stop people cheating instead of how to use these technologies to help them. So, greetings from Russia, Pavel. How are you? Wait a second. Are you the same person who said hi from Russia yesterday, or do we have two Russians in here? And welcome to you as well. I know some HTML from back in the day. Yeah, HTML was great. I loved HTML. I used to love doing HTML. It's almost all useless now. Although, you know what, Nixie, I find it useful to get in there. Here's the thing. I think a general understanding of all of these things is fantastic. I mean, you understand the process of a tag, that you put something between a tag, and that is how it's identified, and that's how it's processed by the computer. Great. I don't think you have to learn all of the HTML codes, because you can just look it up. You could do that when there were books as well. That's the frustrating part for me, is that, I used to learn how to program using books called, how to C++ in 21 days, or JavaScript in 21 days, or Java in 21 days, or HTML in 21 days. It was always these 21-day books that I got addicted to because they were, I think they were made by Q, I believe they were, and I loved them because they were just a clear, familiar way of getting the basics of programming down in a reasonable amount of time. Within a month, I would have a basic understanding of a programming language. I love the O'Reilly books, but the O'Reilly books were definitely I found them more for reference than for classes, but that may not be the case. I would end up generally buying those ones with all their funny little black and white animal prints on them, and that was an animal sketch with the animal ink sketch things. I love them. One day, I will just get a collection of all of the old O'Reilly books because I think they're just fantastic. Okay, AFC Wimbledon. Is that Arsenal Football Club and Wimbledon? Okay, all right. Nuclear material gets more dangerous as it powers more stuff. Long half-life element gives little radiation. Small concentrated nuke mats give a huge rad, so little nuclear reactors are more dangerous. Yes, they're also, but these are salt reactors as well, so they're not like the water reactors that we're using now. The idea of these like salt cooled reactors, I think, are very promising to me. And again, let's face it, there's dangers in any of these things. There's dangers in oil and gas. You can't say there's not danger in mining or drilling for oil or processing oil. I mean, look at the environmental and deaths related to the creation and use of gasoline and oil. I mean, it's ridiculous. So yes, the radiation is something that's absolutely terrifying, but we have to just come up with ways of mitigating it. We've come up, I always laugh at the car companies that say, like, oh my God, the battery cars, they're blowing up all the time. It's like they're really, compared to the number of, I mean, if you can't really compare the explosive nature of a lithium-ion battery with gasoline. I mean, the reality is gasoline is incredibly dangerous as a material. And yes, obviously lithium-ion as well. There's issues with that as well. But I just find it really funny that it's just what you're used to. We are used to oil and gas now. Like, had we got used to batteries in the first place, then we wouldn't be in this freaking mess in the first, to start with. Greetings from Slovakia. Sorry, I'm getting tired and slurry. Cube 3, if Cube 3, are you interested? They've done a bunch of cubes. I'd love to do another cube. I'd love to see, but I'd like to do like a proper one, like one that was sort of sanctioned by Vincenzo, because Vincenzo only did the first one. Vincenzo and Andre did the first cube, and that was the only one that was a cube to me. The rest of them were all sort of knockoffs in my book. And sorry, that may hurt some people's feelings, and actors and directors and all that stuff, but the reality is, as well-intentioned as they might be, Cube was never designed to have a sequel, and Vincenzo and the creatives, the brains of Andre and Vincenzo weren't involved in any of those sequels. So I'm afraid I don't really sort of count them, if that makes sense. Funnily enough, I have to go to my CS Ed research discussion group right now. See everyone later. Okay, well, enjoy Elizabeth with a Z. One day I'll join you on those. She's invited me to them. It sounds fun. Arsenal, nobody is perfect. Look, Red Castle, here's the deal. I don't have a choice. Like, my wife is Arsenal. My son's picked up on that. I am a fair weather soccer fan, or fair weather football fan. I just watch it. I enjoy the sport. I'm actually beginning to enjoy watching Baz play in what he would call the ass league. He says they play like ass, so he's in the ass league, which is not entirely fair. It's a non-competitive league, so basically, well, it is competitive in that there's a winner and a loser and all the rest of it. They keep score and stuff, but it's not. It's designed for people who just want to have fun playing the game. They don't want to. They're not. They don't have like soccer moms and soccer dads screaming at them, and there's not. They're not expected to be professional players. They're just having fun, and I love them for that. I think that's fantastic, and I'm actually beginning to enjoy those games because I'm beginning to understand them a bit more. But yeah, Arsenal's a fun team to watch. Definitely a fun team to watch. I also like. I like a bunch of teams, but. Who else have I liked recently? Oh, I can't. The other problem is I can't remember all the teams. When is there an F1? Is there an F1 this weekend? Is it next weekend? It must be next weekend. That's what I'm looking forward to. Oh my God, I got to recommend for you. By the way, I've got a series recommend for you. It's an old series. It's called The Terror, and I think I'm only going to watch the first season because I think that completes one story, and I don't know that I'm interested in the next one. But I'm telling you, I am glued to this thing. It's got my favorite actor, Jared Harris, in it. God, I wish I was Jared Harris. Maybe I don't want to be related to Harris, but like, oh my God, he's so freaking good. He's just so interesting to watch, and he's just got such a unique and interesting face and way he talks, and his acting is genius. And anyways, he's freaking brilliant as always, as is his entire cast in this film, in this series. It's a limited run series. It is called The Terror, and I highly advise it. It is grim, but man, is it fun. Loving it. Okay. Hello from France. Bonjour. I'll be in Vancouver for June to September to shoot a documentary series about Stargate for my channel YouTube. Would you like to participate? Sure, but I'm in Toronto. Maybe stop by Toronto on the way. Gimpy G says, Jim the Evo, hey to you. Shaken Milk says, so if someone asks you to act like Rodney, is it considered an impression, or are you just being Rodney since he is you? I think it's very difficult to tell the difference, to be honest. I mean, I'm not one of those brilliant actors who can sort of chameleon themselves into someone else. I don't have those abilities. I tend to just sort of play up abilities of my own, or my own sort of, I guess, traits. So I tend to talk very fast, and I tend to be a little snappy, and literally. And yeah, I tend to blow my top a little bit, so I think there's a lot of similarities there. I would say if you were asked to do it, I don't know, basically the closest thing I come to an impersonation is come on, that's like the closest thing I get to it. So seeing as it was recent and you were in my hometown, how was Basingstoke Comic Con? I'm kind of gutted I couldn't go, but life was in the way. Well, Flare Spire, I'm sorry you couldn't make it, and we were so close too. It was a pretty crazy event. I mean, I feel like the organizers were a little bit overwhelmed by the number of people who were there, but like I say, they are lovely people and they really wanted to put on a great event, and they did everything they could to do that. There was definitely some organizational issues, but as I say, I mean, they're just nerds like us. They just trying to put on a good show, and they had an extraordinary number of guests, and I think maybe they overestimated how many guests made sense for them, and I don't know. They'll learn to convention another day, I'm sure. And as I say, I really like them, and I really like I quite like the event, I've got to say. I went out and I bought some little Legos and resisted from buying Magic the Gathering cards, because you know what, guys, in England, don't buy Magic the Gathering cards in England. They are crazy expensive. Like the equivalent in pounds as to ours in dollars, and our dollars are not worth a fraction of your pounds. So I'm just going to say that. Pavel says, David, what do you think about Windows 11? I try not to think about it at all, to be honest. I generally don't use Windows. I've got Windows on one PC upstairs, a gaming PC, which I use for just really for Epic Games, what's it called? Unreal Engine. That's basically all I use it for. I used to do a little bit of Fortnite and stuff. I just get motion sickness with the kid now, and I try to play video games. He's too good at it, and he doesn't want his old man hanging around on that stuff anymore. So basically, I've got Windows. I guess I've got Windows 11 running on that. But honestly, it still feels like it runs on DOS to me. Like, it still has a weird clunky feel. Like I still, obviously, I have much more familiarity with Macintosh and the OS and their OS, Apple's OS, but I find Windows a bit clunky, I gotta say. And also, I freaking hate getting ads in my... Why am I getting ads? Why am I getting ads in my operating system? Screw that. I'm thinking about going Linux. Hey, wait a second, can you run Unreal Engine on I bet you could run Unreal Engine on a Linux machine. Maybe that's what I should be doing. Okay, wait, Elizabeth says, I have to address this. The cognitive load of constantly looking things up is actually a barrier to learning higher level skills, and you have to memorize certain facts to automatically, just gonna keep going, in order to engage in higher level tasks. Yeah, it's one of the biggest problems with biology, actually, is that. Biology has an awful lot. You're absolutely right, Elizabeth. I think I'm not saying we shouldn't memorize at all. I do think, as you say, there needs to be a certain amount of understanding there, and I think, again, depending on the topics you're getting into, the more that those terms get used, the more they're going to stick in your brain. The more you're using them, the more you understand them. So yes, I totally get that. I'm not saying we should not memorize anything. I think there are certain things that, as you say, for convenience, like, I'm sorry, they say you shouldn't memorize your multiplication table. I think you should. I just think it helps. And once you know what you're doing, once you understand the process, who cares? Just freaking memorize it. It's just so much freaking easier. I never learned it very well. Never. And I always stumble on it, because I've learned to panic now whenever anyone throws a multiplication question at me. Like, I think I wish I had learned it as a kid. It would have been so much easier for me in math. So yes, and as I say, biology, the big issue with biology, and what makes it really hard to sort of tech bandit biology, is how do you make that stuff interesting without them having a basic vocabulary for explaining it. So Elizabeth raised a really, really good point there. Again, I'm not in any of these fields. I am just a nerd in the world, so I can make these blanket statements, and I expect people like Elizabeth to catch me on them. So I think that's great. Thank you, Elizabeth, on that. Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting point. Biology being the big standout for me. I remember that Professor Arthy at the University of Toronto, Scarborough, who is sort of just spearheaded all of this escape room biology learning stuff, has been amazing about talking to her about this stuff. And one of her big points was, like, she's like, you have to get them excited, but they also have to learn a lot of words. And so that's why I think she's so interested in the escape room stuff, because if you can build some of that vocabulary into the puzzle. So they're learning as they're puzzling through this stuff. They're going to learn the basics by doing stuff. And I really hope that will help with biology. Because the funny thing is, biology was the last subject I would have thought of trying to approach with escape room learning. This whole crazy idea that I had for using escape room, the creation of escape rooms as a way of putting kids' knowledge into action. My concern is that kids, like, they get given escape rooms to solve in escape type puzzles at school to solve, but they're not being asked to build them. And I really think applying their knowledge is so important. And I was just talking to Baz and his friend today about Concordia and McGill and what's required to get into the universities now. 85 to 90 is a base minimum for getting into universities now. Like, that's nuts. That's freaking crazy. You know, like, I feel like just because you're not getting 85, 90s in school means you shouldn't have higher education. That just seems insane to me. Anyways, all right, look at me. I'm turning into a total socialist. All right, were you ever interested in archaeology? If so, what's the one time period you hyperfixated about? I was dinosaurs to start. So, but my understanding of dinosaurs back when I was a kid is probably much the same as it is now, very little. But I like all kids, I loved the dinosaurs. I was obsessed with the idea that the asteroid killed them all. And I was also really, really interested in Egypt. I loved all the pyramids and the mummies, and I remember trying to learn how to write in hieroglyphs and stuff like that. Hieroglyphics. So yeah, those are the two areas for me. But yeah, archaeology was, it was never like a big thing for me. Anything that involved dead people, I was generally fairly interested in because I was always quite a fan of the macabre. I've always been a horror fan. In fact, I think the first Omen is available today for rent, so that might be what I'm renting tonight for my movie. We'll see. LOL. Oh snap! Finally got to tune into these. I'm so glad you could join us and see me all sweaty and gross. Tombstone Vulture Command. What are you up to? Terrence Howard. Listen to his Joe Rogan interview or his talk at the Oxford Union. It's intriguing. Really? Okay. All right. I'll give it a go. Thoughts on would you step through a Stargate if presented with it in real life? Do you think the practicalization kills you upon teleportation? Oh, the particleization, I guess, kills you upon teleportation and recreates a new person, or the other end? Oh, that's a tough one. I always, in my head, it was always that spaghettification thing. I always felt like, I love that image of sort of just you get, elongated. I feel like you're like slurped like spaghetti through it. So no freaking way I'm stepping through that. Morning, just Jordan. Morning for you, afternoon, evening for me, early evening for me, actually. What is it? Yeah, early evening. I had a chemistry professor who studied lithium batteries for her PhD. She always emphasized the environmental impact on these metals for EV manufacturing. Yeah, look, again, battery technology is not the be-all and end-all, and that also has to be kept into account as well. I mean, what is the environmental footprint or impact of these cars? I mean, certainly the early EVs. What's going to happen to them? They're just going to get put in dumps somewhere. Like, one of the things I did like about I sound surprised about Tesla's approach was the idea of taking the old car batteries and then turning them into the Tesla wall units, right? So the batteries that weren't holding a charge the way they needed for the EV vehicles could be used as a power supply for houses and stuff. So I thought that was kind of a neat approach. Pavel, what do you got? David, what do you think about the situation in Chernobyl? Was it a human factor or something else? Wow. Well, Pavel, I mean, I'm guessing Russia has a different perspective on this than we do. Russia is not unfortunately a very popular place right now in the West. But it sounds to me like it was, as always, a combination of human and technical stuff, right? We've had. I mean, I think the most horrific part of Chernobyl for me was not letting people know. It was extraordinary to me that was it like Sweden or something that discovered a cloud of radioactive dust coming across the planet before it was sort of admitted to. So I feel like there is, you know, even the technology, I think it all comes down to the human element. I think there is always, as long as there are humans writing the code or humans pulling the switches, there are going to be mistakes and there are going to be things we haven't thought of. You know, the hope is that AI will be better at looking at all the possible solutions to these things. And I think the idea that, you know, these digital twins, as they call them, I guess, it's kind of a silly term for simulation, really. But in the bio IT world, they're basically digital simulations of bodies, and you could sort of do tests on them. If you can do the same thing with reactors and weather patterns and be able to sort of simulate what could go wrong and simulate so many different possible outcomes and so many possible problems, you know, we're going to be able to iterate through a lot of stuff much faster and hopefully have much safer. Again, me being the tech optimist, that's my approach. But again, I do feel like, I guess if I was asked to choose, it sounds to me like it was more human than technology issues there. And also money, right? Again, I would say, I guess that is a human thing as well, but money, it comes down to money, trying to save money and you know, cut the corners on little things here and little things there, and not without sort of foreseeing what could go wrong. But yeah, thank you for asking, Pavel. It's you know, I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on it. What have you got, you know, from your side of the world? What do you make of the Chernobyl situation? I will say this: if you can watch the Chernobyl series, again, limited series with, again, my favorite actor, Jared Harris, it's brilliant. It has one of the best descriptions of what can go wrong, or what went wrong, or what is, you know, again, what we've heard as what went wrong, not from the human standpoint, but from these are the things that happened that caused this explosion. So. I think the biggest tragedy there was this unwillingness to communicate what was going on to people and let them know exactly what danger they were in when they were in it. So I just want to say thank you for being so kind and generous with your time at Basingstoke. All of you really totally worth the heat and misery. Oh, thank you, Stina. My pleasure. I like these things. I'm a nerd. Like, I feel like I'm a nerd in my nerd kingdom, and you know, I am a nerd king there. So I love it. I love getting to talk to people, and you know, and I get to find out all these weird, wonderful things that people are working on, and it's just I really enjoy it. Eugene, you're welcome anytime. I enjoy sharing. My kind of league. What a champ. Hi. Hi, Endorphinator, how are you? I love the Terror, it was amazing. Don't tell me what happens, because I can't wait. Platform for Terror, I believe it's Prime. I think it's on Prime. It's not that old. It's for 2018. What's that? What is it about? 2018 is like, that was 5 years ago. That's like a million years by internet years. Good afternoon, David in chat. Good afternoon to you, Xenos or John, whatever you would prefer to be called. You were great in the Graveyard Rats. It scared the crap out of me, and I couldn't wait. I couldn't watch the next episode for a while. Oh, go good. I'm glad. I am really, truly one of my all-time favorite projects to work on. Like, just absolutely loved it. I'm working with my best friend who I made movies with when I was in high school, Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro's brilliant freaking team. Like, oh my God, that crew is just extraordinary. And it was just wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. It was kind of a magical kind of experience. And that's kind of weird to say about a project that had me basically buried alive and covered in rats. So, you know. Yeah. The Terror is awesome. Season 2 is even better. Really? Even better. Okay. All right, Gippy G. If you're right, you're right. Oh, boy, I don't know how to say that. Juri Hybeck says, hi, David, the TypeScript guy from Prague. Hey, how are you, buddy? Glad you were streaming again. How was the escape room? Oh, my God. It's the freaking best. Make sure you go. It was called, is it Mind Escapes? Mind Maze? Something like that. They're great. They're absolutely fantastic. We did the underwater one and we did the space one. Well, we did the space one and we enjoyed it so much, I immediately said, can we do the other one as well? And then we did the other one as well. We paid for them. Like, I'm not being nice because they were particularly nice to us, but they were really nice to us, as it turns out. And I had one of our lovely friends from the who helped to translate at the con too. Prague was magic. I freaking loved it. So TypeScript guy, you should definitely check him out. Definitely check him out. I had so much fun with him. Go with a bunch of friends. have a beer or two, and it's just a blast. It's wonderful. Norm, hi Chad, hi David, how are ya? Meredith, not Rodney. Indeed, it is. It's true. I recently introduced my girlfriend to Atlantis. She loves your character and constantly laughs at how often you're in trouble. Her quote, "Of course Rodney's in trouble again." It's kind of the story of my life. It's kind of like Baz at home. He's like, "Oh, Dad's in trouble again." Bite me, I'm clinging on. But thank you and welcome her to the Atlantis. The Atlantis family. I prefer a stirred dairy-free milkshake. Oh man, now I feel like a milkshake. Well, I think aren't the McDonald's milkshakes are basically dairy-free anyways, aren't they? They're not allowed to call them milkshakes because there's no actual milk in them. All right, you crazy folks. I've been alive for far too long now. Alive? Oh dear. No, I've been live for far too long now. I must go and talk to my family. My son is home. He's got a friend here as well. We're going to make some dinner. My wife's home, and I'm really hoping I can talk. Oh, I can't talk her into it. God damn it. That's right. I forgot. Baz's friend doesn't like horror movies. Oh well. I guess I'm not watching that. Talk fast and break something. Whoop, sorry. Talk fast. I talk fast and always get pulled up for it from others, but I think it's part of me. Yeah, my mouth moves faster than my brain in most of the time, so I feel a tiny bit offended. What? What do you mean shaken milk? What are you offended about? Dairy-free milkshake? What do you have instead of it? So dairy-free, would you like almond milk, or what's the deal there? What are you using instead of milk? Did you come up with a snapping of the fingers? Yeah, that's me all the way. That's just a thing that I do, and I guess I remember reading it in the script for the first time, and I was like, "What? You can't tell me when to snap my fingers. That's my thing." Yes. So lactose intolerant. Yeah. I never know whether I'm. It's funny. I was talking to this amazing woman, Cindy, who ran the Bio IT world, and she does like a DNA study on people, and like digs deep into the tech side, the biotech side of what is ailing people, right? Because she maintains that we tend to sort of go like, oh, they're gluten intolerant, they're lactose intolerant, and that maybe it's specific preservatives or specific additives or specific portions of whatever we're dealing with there that are causing the issue, and that we should try to hunt these things down, which I think is fascinating as well. All right, I'm going off on a tangent again. So, all right, I should say goodbye. Anyone here watching Doctor Who? New one airs later. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to see what they're up to. What is it? I feel like it's like a popular club now. I feel like when I was a Doctor Who fan, I was like on the outskirts, and now I feel like maybe I'm joining a popular club or something. I don't know. That's such a silly thing to say, isn't it? I really need to check out the new Doctor. To be honest, I haven't watched Doctor Who in a long time. I just found it was getting, I don't know, it's like I said this before the other day, where I liked the rubbery effects. I liked the physical effects aspect of it. I find the digital CG stuff very difficult. It's just not always terribly good, and it just, I don't know. There's something about it that takes it out of the realm of possible to me when I see these massive TARDISes and stuff. There was just something wonderful about dreaming of a TARDIS that had lots of rooms than seeing a big studio space with the TARDIS control room in the middle and stuff. And also, I don't like the idea that there was a person. I don't like the idea that it had like an entity in it. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. But anyways, that's just me. So yeah, I haven't really got into the new Doctor Who that much. I really liked. People often ask me who my favorite new one is, and I think it would probably be. David Tennant is absolutely lovely, fantastic. But I think as an actor, he's just absolutely brilliant. I have nothing bad to say about him. I think he was a fantastic Doctor Who. But my favorite Doctor Who of the new bunch has been Matt Smith, because I feel like he was the closest thing to my old Tom Baker days, I think. So, George Judd, thank you for your answer. I agree with you. Oh, good. Well, thank you. I'm glad that's the case. I'm also gluten intolerant, but that's beside the point. Okay. Then that's good, as long as you're enjoying milkshakes. I enjoy milkshakes. I love milkshakes. Partially gelatinized, non-dairy, gum-based beverage. Delicious. Lip smacking good. Watched a great film last night. It's called Fresh, little dark, and the subject matter is a little icky, but it was really good. Oh, is it like a body? Oh, that's like a body horror one, isn't it? I like the body horrors. They kind of freak me out. What we got here? Me loving it. All right, okay. Linux can replace Windows now. That's great. Maybe I should do that then. You've been spoiled by the ancient OS. It's true. Everything works with USBs. Okay, don't use gelatin. All right, was it like shooting a film like Cube before knowing how it would look with special effects? The funny thing about Cube was it only had a couple of digital effects in it. There were literally like 2 or 3 shots that were actually digital. You know, like the wrap-up thing when he cubes at the beginning, that obviously that trap is actually digital, but the effect is all physical. That's just a physical Julian that's quartered like that, like that's cubed like that. And then there was like 1 or 2 shots of the interior of the cube of the connecting pieces. So we were just in the cube. That was like, I mean, the cube was the cube. It was there. It was hot. It was like working in an easy bake oven because those were not LEDs. LEDs don't heat up the way that the old would they have been tungsten? No, is it tungsten? What were the lights? Was it tungsten they used to use? I don't know. Anyways, the old basically burning filament bulbs were incredibly hot, so it made it really, really uncomfortable. Our brains run smartest the first 30 minutes we're awake. True story. Really? Not my brain. I don't think so. I think my brain is still stumbling around, wishing it was asleep still. All right, everyone, I've got to run. Thank you as always. Another Burn&Learn. How freaking great is that? I don't know when the next one's going to be. You know, I would love to say I should exercise every day, so I should do one of these every day, but I'm not going to make that kind of promise because I'll never be able to keep that. But you know, I kind of, the idea of not breaking the chain is very appealing to me. So we'll see. Maybe it won't always be 25 minutes on the elliptical. Maybe it'll just be, you know, some jumping jacks and a few push-ups or something. But I need to do something, and I do like to share. I like my social media time. I like my YouTube time for that. Although I'd also like to figure out how to get this on Twitch as well, because I feel bad for the people who are being left behind on Twitch. Because there's a lot of people who have been fantastic on Twitch, including Cal, for that matter, who can't wield her hammer here. So anyways, all right. Have a great weekend. Enjoy, everyone. Let me know how the new Doctor Who is. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. And be brave, be kind, be brilliant. Cheerio and huzzah! See y'all later. Thanks very much. Here I go. Oops, I'm hitting all the wrong things. Here we go. Bye. Bye. Do I want to end?